Today we're going to start with underglazing our ocarina. Your ocarina should be totally dry by now because we left it out during the last session, at the end of the last session. And you should have all your texture finished. You should have your mouthpiece so that it works nicely. You should have all the details done with the sculpting and modeling of the clay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start with what's called underglazing, and your underglazes are going to come in a container like this. They should have the name on the top of the color, yellow or whatever color it is, and it should match the color on the side. And then inside of it you have to twist off the top, and inside it should be the color. Okay, you should have a big box, and I'll point that out to you over on the side of the room on the clay supply cart with all of these in them. And inside you have all of your colors. The one color that you're not going to use is the one that's called clear glaze, because obviously it's clear glaze, and we'll use that next week. Okay, so I'm going to start with my color yellow here, and I'm going to just stir it up because it's a little bit unstirred, and I just want to make sure it's nice and stirred up. I'm going to take my brush and stir it. One of the things with the brushes is you kind of got to dribble it on as you go, and I'm going to do one complete layer first, and then we're going to put a different color on top. So we're going to overlap colors. So as you can see, here's my bird, and I'm just going to overlap the colors. So I'm going to do the whole bird first. Okay, and you can see how I'm just painting this on. Okay, trying to be careful and not dribble too much, but I want a nice thick layer on my bird. Okay, whatever animal you have, you're going to, choose something that's appropriate for that animal, and do a nice job of painting it. You should have a wet water or a full water cup at your table so you can rinse your brush when you need to, because we don't want to mix any of the colors together. We want to have those colors separate. Like I've got my yellow separate here. We all have to share the colors, so we want to keep them nice and neat, and make sure anytime we switch our brush color, we rinse our brush out really well. Notice how I'm kind of painting around the places like the beak and the eyes that I know I'm gonna paint differently later. Like I'm gonna go back with white and do the eyes. I'm gonna go back with like an orangey color for the beak. So I'm trying to be careful here and go around it so that I don't get those things painted. Remember, it's a three-dimensional object, so you really do have to paint all the different sides of it because it is kind of like a sculpture, right? We're going to run into a little problem with that when we get to the mouthpiece, because we're going to have to kind of very, very carefully do the mouthpiece so that we don't get it screwed up. I'm just going to kind of continue. I'm going to actually set my little bird down here, try to get it into the view so you can see it as I paint this side, because I can't hold it anymore because it's kind of sloppy on the other side. So you can kind of see how I'm doing this here. Continuing along. Mr. Longer, you could probably fast forward until I get to the mouthpiece. Now, as far as painting the holes and the mouthpiece, it's really important when you paint them that you do not paint the 45-degree angle of the mouthpiece. Okay, we want to leave that piece unpainted, because any little bit of paint on top of that can change the workingness or working ability of the ocarina. So as you paint around that hole, just like I have there, so that it's not painted, because we don't want that hole to get screwed up. Likewise, here on the wind hole where the wind goes in, paint around the edge and make sure not to dribble anything inside, because if you get a big blob of underglaze inside there, it won't make sound. So it's really important, hugely important, not to get any dribbles inside the hole or on your 45-degree angle, because if you have big dribble on your 45-degree angle, it won't cut the sound appropriate, and then you've done all that work getting it to work in the first place, only to screw it up with one little dribble at the end. So likewise with the holes here, after you get done doing it, you might want to go back with a toothpick and just clean them out, because if a little dribble gets into the hole, into that hole, you're going to have trouble with it not sounding right. And so you're going to want to make sure that there's nothing left. There's no dribble in that hole. So if I take a toothpick here and I just kind of go around inside there and kind of rotate the toothpick on the sides just to make sure there's no dribble in there. The clay should be nice and hard, so it's not going to move and not change your pitch any unless there's a dribble on there. So that's a good way to make sure you've got that cleaned out. So there's my finished first layer. Oops, except that little bit there I forgot. So once you get your first layer done, you're going to work on the second layer next, and we'll do that in the next video. Once you're done painting, obviously, or whenever you change colors, try to like swipe as much of the brush off as you can, because this paint is very expensive, and then take your brush and do a really good job washing it out and cleaning your brush before you dip it into the next container. So there's my nice clean brush, and when I'm done with this color, I'm going to make sure I take my cap and I use two hands to screw the cap all the way back on so that no liquid leaks out. That's what the screwed on cap looks like, so it won't leak all over the place. Okay, so there's my finished first layer of my bird.